Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Have you ever heard of the word ostriching? Right? When I say ostriching, does anything come to mind? Are you thinking about an ostrich just poking their head right into the sand, trying to avoid what's going on? This is something that happens frequently to a lot of my clients, right? Things start to feel overwhelming. They start to feel like, oh, there's just too much. And what we want to do is just put our head in the sand and pretend as if the world doesn't exist, right? We want to just go away, pretend like nothing is happening, put our head in the sand. And this is an instinct that I understand. It's a protection instinct, right? However, it often does the exact opposite of what we're intending, right? Instead of making us feel less overwhelmed, we now feel more overwhelmed because, not only have we now been sticking our head in the proverbial sand for some time, things have continued to pile up around us while we've done that, right? So, sometimes I work with people and when they say they're ostriching, it means that they're just like ignoring their task list entirely. Maybe they're going so far as to just ignore it and like watch TV or something like that. Or maybe they're doing stuff, but also they're really ignoring that task list. And so this is something that comes up a lot. And that's why I wanted to chat with you about it, because there is a way to avoid this, right? And it might be a little counterintuitive because again, it's this protection instinct. We're saying, okay, I'm just going to put my head down and pretend like nothing else exists so that I can just get through this time. What we're doing is we are kind of alleviating our pain in the short term, and we're creating long-term pain, right? So we're getting ourselves into kind of a deeper or worse situation. So whenever my clients say this to me, they don't say the word ostriching. I'm coining that now, right? Or I believe actually this was coined by one of my clients before. But they usually say something like, I feel really embarrassed. My task list is like all out of whack. Everything's overdue. And first, I always remind them that this is a no shame environment, right? We are coming at things from where we are. We are not worried about what we have done in the past or not done in the past. We are starting from zero every single time. No shame. We just need to make a plan and move forward. So we start there. And then they always say something about, it's in really bad shape. I'm too afraid to look at it. I don't want to see it. And I always offer, would you like to do it together? How about we just take a look at it together and then we work our way through it so that you can get back into a spot that feels good. And usually when I say this, I see kind of a big body sigh of relief happening that yes, of course, they would like some help with this. However, maybe you don't have a me in your life, right? Maybe you don't have someone who is going to handhold you through this process. And yet you have still found yourself at times in a situation where you have kind of ignored because it was too scary to look at. And now things just feel out of control. So here's what you're going to do if this happens to you. Preferably you do this when you're starting to feel that urge to ostrich, right? To stick your head down there. But maybe your head's just already been buried and it's been there for a while. Either way, doesn't matter. This will work. So here's what we're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to muster up the courage to open up your task list, your task app, your task program, wherever those things are. And you're just going to look at it. Just look at it for a few seconds. And then you're going to congratulate yourself for doing that hard thing, right? It took courage. It took courage to look at it. And so you are going to congratulate yourself. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start just with the overdue stuff. We're going to start at the top and you're going to ask yourself, you're going to say, okay, I didn't do this thing when, I originally planned. So when am I going to realistically do it now? We don't want to be using questions like, hey, when should it have been done? Or when do I wish it would be done? Because those are not reflective of reality. We want to ask ourselves, when can I actually do this? What is the next step and when can I do it? And then we want to look at our calendars and we want to plan for that thing. So maybe we're time blocking, maybe we're changing the task date, maybe we're doing both, right? But we are saying, when realistically is it going to happen? And then we move on to the next one and we do the same thing. We ask ourselves the same questions. We move on to the next one. And pretty quickly, much more quickly than you think, you will find that there's no more overdue stuff. Overdue is kind of this false stressor, right? Because overdue doesn't mean anything. We can't actually go back into the time past it and do that. We have to do things in the going forward, right? And so we're going to get things down to where everything is today or moving forward. And then you're going to look at today and you're going to look at your calendar. You're going to say, is this reasonable? Can I do these things? These things that I've scheduled for today, do they fit into the time I have for today? And most likely the answer is going to be no. And so you are going to make some hard choices there. You're going to be ruthless in your prioritization until you have a good day of, yes, these are the things I can get done today with the time I have left today. You are going to feel so much better. right? So when we do this process, there are usually a few things that almost everyone finds. Now, the first one is that this process takes way less time than you think. Often we do this whole thing in 20 minutes, right? People think it's going to be this like hours long thing, but by asking those questions, we're able to just kind of get through it real quick. Now, another thing that you'll find is that some of this stuff, you won't be moving it because you've already done it, right? You will then get that little dopamine hit from checking it off the list and realize, I could have been getting these dopamine hits the whole way through had I been checking this stuff off. But now we know that, right? So we learn these things that happen to us, and then we also feel that there's a huge sense of relief. Like everyone feels this, like, oh, okay, I don't have this thing hanging over me. It's not this heavy backpack anymore. I've done it. I now feel empowered to do it again, and I don't feel in that dark place anymore. Like I need to stick my head under the sand and hide again because I feel like everything has a place, and it has a place in front of me in the future. So if you have found yourself in this position where you're ostriching, you're just trying to hide, you're trying to avoid all of the things because it's scary and it's overwhelming. One, don't feel bad. Everyone has those feelings. And then two, this is the process that you can use to get yourself out of that hole so that you can alleviate that long-term pain instead of just the short-term pain. Now, if you have ideas about how you do this for yourself, maybe you do it differently, or maybe if you have ideas about how to avoid the situation in the first place, drop them in the comments. I would love to know. And if you like this type of content, if you want to see more of it, make sure to subscribe. I'm here every week.
Like she said, make sure to subscribe to the channel. As you can see, only 17.3% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed. So it'd be a big help if you subscribed.